a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the sky.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Adana Combi. It is now 8:45 a.m. and it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining beautifully on the outside. Welcome back. And just in case you need some information on the reforestation hike, or it's not a hike, what is it? You are supposed to be there on the day. March 30th is the event at 5:30 because race begins at 6 a.m. In studio is our next guest, and we are going to be talking about some serious matters. We have with us Sergeant Joseph Jordon from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. He's here today to give us a little update as to what's happening, and we're going to go straight into our topic today. How are you? Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning to you. Thanks for having me. Good morning to Tobago. Good morning to Trinidad and Tobago, if you're not listening audience.
Right, so give us a little update as to where we are. You know, we just came out of our weekend. You know, a lot of things happened over the weekend. Can you just give us a little update on what's happening in Tobago?
All right. Well, to start with, the weekend we had two unfortunate fatal road traffic accidents. Right, one would have occurred at Studley Park, while the other one occurred at Wilson Road, Scarborough. Unfortunately, two males died in those incidents, and it comes back to beg, we have to be mindful as it relates to the speed on the roadways. If we don't observe our speed limit, more than likely when we do get into an accident or an incident, it can result in serious injury and death. So condolences to the family of those two families, and we still want to encourage that persons be mindful as to how they use the roadway. Outside of that, we would have recovered a firearm, a Glock pistol in the Plymouth area. So our congratulations to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, in particular the task force, CID, and all the officers that were involved in recovery of that firearm, and also to members of the public, because as we often say, if you see something, say something. All right, so we had that. We also still have the body that was found at Golden Grove, Buku. Right, that person is of East Indian descent, but that person has not been identified as yet. We are still asking if anybody, observe or notice anybody missing, because we also don't have a incident of a missing person in Tobago at this time. So that person remain unknown to us, but we are asking the public to still assist in whatever information they can, and so that we can be able to identify and also assist that family in bringing some rest. If that is the case as it relates to somebody who might have been missing but just not reported to us, or it could be elsewhere in the country as far as Trinidad or even in the region. So that is where we are thus far. Some more information as it relates to the missing person. If anybody has any information, they can communicate with the CID, the homicide, as well as the Shervan Road Police Station to share information. The contact number for Shervan is 639-8888. And the CID is 639-2515.
Okay, tell us those numbers again. Shervan is 639-8888.
And Scarborough CID 639-2515.
Right, so if you have any information on any of the missing persons, please contact our office, the offices of the TTPS. So we want to talk about a situation in our space in Trinidad and Tobago, the escalating violence in schools. What is your take on it, and what is the TTPS doing and stuff like that? Let's have this conversation.
All right. Well, Tobago, as we often have to sometimes separate ourselves from our sister.
True.
Now we know it's a challenge. However, it has not plagued us in Tobago as severely as Trinidad. However, we are taking the necessary precautionary step to avoid that happening. Now, from time to time there will be fights at schools. There will be incidents. I mean, most of us would have gone to school and we would have either been involved in a fight or would have witnessed a fight. Right. However, what we would have had now with the advent of technology, we are seeing fights now are being recorded, and then it is now displayed and distributed across many of the social mediums that we have available for us today. And that in itself now creates the awareness that we may not have known about in times gone by. So for us in Tobago, we have our child protection unit, we have our community policing unit, and other stations. From time to time, they will do lectures at schools to educate and inform persons as to the pros and cons of crime, and the right and the wrong, as well as look at the consequences. So that has been an ongoing thing. That is one of the mandates of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, to continue to reach out to our young persons. Right now, violence is cool. Many of us refer to the common term of bullying. Now, bullying in itself is offenses that are committed, such as fighting, assaulting. Now, we often use the word loosely, but there are consequences, or there are offenses attached to bullying which can land you in trouble. And children are not exempted from being punished or even charged and convicted of a crime. Our system allows that, or the law, I should say, allows that children above the age of 7 can be charged for an offense, right? Except for, I think, under the age of, as it relates to sexual offenses, it goes up to, I think, 12 years old. However, when children commit these acts of violence, sometimes the only time they are charged is if the act is so deviant and so violent, then it might be brought before the court of law. But before it even reaches there, sometimes we have incidents happening in schools, and there are intervention through, starting with sometimes the teachers, the principal, the guidance counselor, the student support services, the social workers, and I often prefer that the police be last. However, we, as I said earlier, we do proactive measures, so we would often have schools call, and we have also had programs where police would go out to the schools and have lectures and do field trips with students to also embrace and to create that partnership between the police and the community. And by doing that, you are now provided an avenue so that you can educate people and prevent them from committing crimes and deviant behaviors.
Well, how do you said a child over 7 years can be charged, right? How do you lay the charge? What type of charge, and what is the action that is taken? Because a lot of us don't know. It's news to me that you're saying a child over the age of 7 can be charged for a violent crime. So what are the charges, and how is it processed?
No, and when I say crime, any crime,
right?
We have larceny, assault, robbery. That all the offenses that adults may be exposed to, or young teenager, a young child can also be exposed to them. As I said, it might be news to some of us, because most of the time, and obviously, young children at heart, you don't want to sometimes put them before the court, because obviously it may affect their future, destroy their career. And so we often use the gentle approach of counseling and social work in order to assist in restoring that child or those children to some semblance of normalcy. However, when these crimes are so violent, then you just can't pat them. Right? So we need to take at that point in time, we need to take a little more stringent approach. So parents need to be aware of these things. And of course, the community in which a child exists, that is where they're going to have their learned behavior, and that is where they're going to display it. And if you are coming out from a violent environment, when you go to school, 90% of the time, you're going to display violence. So it is all what you are exposed to, because many children are like sponge. And even as adults, we often say every day we learn something. So our parents have to take some responsibility, our schools, the community on the whole, the police, we are going to do our part. As I said, our job is one of prevention of crime, mainly. However, if a crime occurs, then we have to investigate and bring the person to justice, and then the judiciary system will do what they need to do. So, as we often see, it is a collaborative effort between or among all parties in order to bring peace, love, and goodwill within a community.
And it's good that you also you mentioned earlier about community programs where you go into community and educate your community. So that is where you can start, What is the response like when you go into communities, or are there any troubled communities, or what are your challenges and what are your experiences when you go into communities for this educational drive?
All right, generally, so some of the methods in which we would interact with the public, as relates to school, we often have officers assigned to the school. So as much as possible, if the school have a problem, then they would communicate with that officer, who he or she may be able to do it singly, or they may have to have a collaborative approach where they may have to bring in a team of officers to treat with it. So let me use an example for an example. Now, let's say we have an issue of some sexual concerns
Offense,
within a school. Now, the officer might be generally attached to the community policing unit. So what we may do in an instance like that, we would now collaborate with the child protection unit, all right, and the sexual offenses, to treat with sexual offenses. So we would engage our partner units in order to get the information out, because everybody may specialize, or there may be persons specialized in certain areas, and the greater expertise and experience may come from that person. So we tap on all our resources in order to bring the best message to the students, the teachers, and all those that it may impact.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, because I mean, we can't do it on our own. We need the involvement of our stakeholders. So it's good to hear that you have other units who will support in the event of any sort of offenses taking place that cannot be single-handedly handled by one particular office. You said that there's an officer assigned to a school, right? Like what you try to do is assign an officer to a school.
Right. So that is something that we have been, a number of years we have been doing that. It's not a perfect rule.
Of course not.
Right? So we may not actually have a physical officer in every single school. However, as much of our resources allow, we try to have officers assigned that. So that one officer may have 2 or 3 schools.
Right.
No, it is, as I said, it's a form of partnership, and it is important that we create this linkage or these linkages in order to really have an impact on crime, and to also ensure that our young persons move and stay away from a life of violence, which has been eroding our society time and time again.
What I was going to ask about the officer being assigned to the school, is it that the officer is there in the event of an offense taking place, or is there a relationship where the school knows that we have an officer, the officer would come in every now and again if they have to, and give talks and stuff like that?
Right, so the latter is correct. So it's a relationship, because we may not have the officer there during the entire school. So it's basically a relationship, and that officer, not only on the call of the principal or a teacher, but will make it his business, him or her business, to visit that school from time to time to ensure that things are going in the proper alignment. And of course, if there are programs, because we are, as much as possible, we are not going to just have officers just come in for a chit chat, but we'll also design programs that they may go in to interact. For example, we may have a program with the police youth club, so you might go have that officer encourage students of that school to be part of a police youth club, which can provide you with an avenue of positivity that would carry you to a path that is more socially desired.
Yes, so it's lending support to our young ones, because you know that they are the ones that are going to run when we have moved on, when we are retired and we're sitting at home. They are the ones that will be guarding our cities. So it is very good that you provide that level of community, that level of support and motivation, and try to steer them in the right path. And I really, really like that, because a lot of our young people, they have so many different backgrounds. They come from different communities, different homes, and we don't know what is happening at the home. So once we provide that bridge between them, which is what you are doing as the TTPS, it will help them to, to see themselves as somebody worth the effort, because that is, from my observation, what I notice is that troubled children, or children who make trouble for lack of a better term, make trouble in school, they are the ones who feel as if they need to do something for attention. So that's exactly what it is.
And just what you're saying, that is one of the bigger challenges that we often have, because children like attention. We as adults like attention, but sometimes we like the attention for the wrong reason, and many of us, we are followers and not leaders. So sometimes you are going to school, you're on the right path, but because you're not in the popular group, you find yourself associating with persons that are not of a very good intention, and then you yourself get yourself in trouble. And often they cry, but my child doesn't behave so at home. I know where you pick up that behavior from. However, we all are exposed to an environment at home, and we are also exposed to an environment at school. And at the end of the day, the home should be the foundation. And when we establish that foundation, when they go out into the public, or they are exposed to different communities, different personalities, different settings, they would know that this type of behavior is acceptable, whilst this other type of behavior is unacceptable, and then you'll be able to make a decision to walk the correct and narrow path and so avoid us having so much work to do.
Thank you so much, Sergeant Joseph Jordon, joining us here on Good Morning Tobago with a whole set of information, a whole bag of support for our young people in our schools. We thank you so much. We appreciate the work that the TTPS has been doing in our schools with our young people, casting an extra eye for us, because no man is an island. We all need each other. Thank you so much. Parents, remember the responsibility is yours. Long time they used to say it takes a village to raise a child. So we are the village for our children. Let us support each other and let us teach our children the right thing so that they will be upstanding members in society. And this is where we are going to end GMT this morning. We are rounding up. We had a very beautiful day. And I thank all of my guests for participating in today's discussions. Viewers, have a beautiful day. It is now 9 a.m. And if you are at work, thank God that you got there safely. Remember to be safe on the nation's roads, to look out for each other, and tell somebody today that their smile is beautiful. This is where we end today. I am Adana Kombi.
The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear my neighbor. 60,000 people straight.